Good evening and welcome to tonight's neighborhood meeting. My name is Riley Anderson and I'm a planner with the city's Development Services Department. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to present to you a development concept being considered by the owner and development team of 126 and 130 Ardagh Road, prior to a formal development application being submitted to the city. This provides an opportunity for the development team to hear initial community feedback and incorporate it into their plans prior to making a full and formal submission to the city. Please be aware that we're recording this meeting for the public record. The record will be used for the purposes of garnering your input and to respond to inquiries and will be considered public information. Please also be aware that as a registered attendee tonight, your email address will be added to the mailing list so that you can receive further information about this application as it progresses. Should you have any questions regarding this collection, please contact the Development Services Department. I would also like to let everyone know that there are staff behind the scenes managing the technology this evening. They're here to make sure the meeting runs smoothly, grant participants the opportunity to speak, and to assist with any questions in the chat. Please bear with us if we have any issues. The intent of tonight's meeting is to provide members of the public with an opportunity to become familiar with the development application and the planning review process, and to also ask the applicant questions and provide feedback. What to expect during the virtual neighborhood meeting, a brief overview of the city's review process and timing, a presentation from the applicant's representative describing the proposal, and an opportunity to ask of either the applicant or city staff and provide comments or identify concerns with the application. What not to expect, city staff recommendations on the application or a detailed analysis on the proposal. This occurs later in the review process, and a debate on the merits of the proposal between city staff and the applicant. Before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to quickly highlight the next step in the process. This neighborhood meeting is established early in the development process to ensure local concerns are incorporated or addressed through the city's review. After this meeting, we expect the applicant will make a formal application submission for the development project. Formal submissions undergo full technical review and must address comments received from this neighborhood meeting, from our city's technical departments and external agencies, and from members of the public more broadly. In conjunction with this, a statutory public meeting will be held on the application at Affordability Committee. At a public meeting, applicants present their presentation and application to council, answer questions, and provide an overview of and respond to any issues or concerns identified during a prior neighborhood meeting. As part of the public meeting, members of the public also have an opportunity to provide written or verbal comments. Following a public meeting, staff continue the review process and the applicants make any necessary revisions to the development proposal. Once the review process has concluded, a staff recommendation report is brought forward to council for their consideration. All comments received throughout the review process, including those received at the neighborhood and public meetings, are identified and addressed in the staff report and form part of staff's recommendation on the subject application. A staff report for this particular application would likely be brought forward to council sometime in 2026. I will now move on to the applicant's presentation. As I mentioned, the proposed project and application will be presented first, which we will follow with a question and comment period. Tonight, we're focusing on the zoning bylaw amendment proposed at 126 to 130 Ardagh Road. The applicant's planner is Daphne Goxon from Innovative Planning Solutions. The proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw would rezone the property from residential single detached dwelling second density to residential apartment dwelling second density 1 to accommodate the development of a 6-story apartment building containing 153 units. I will now hand the meeting control over to Daphne, who will first introduce herself and then share the presentation on the proposed development.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Riley, for the introduction. As she mentioned, my name is Daphne Goxon. I'm from Innovative Planning Solutions. I'm here tonight representing the owners of the properties at 126 and 130 Ardagh Road. There was a previous neighborhood meeting for these properties. Some of you may have been in attendance. We've made some changes to the design, so that's why we are here with a new presentation. The application is still not submitted, as Riley mentioned, so we're presenting the updated proposal in order to get community feedback in order to refine something for submission. Oops. So the properties are located on the side of Ardagh Road. In total, the properties are about 0.8 hectares, which is almost 2 acres. So pretty large properties. There's 2 existing single-family homes, one on each lot. And as you can see from this sort of very zoomed in aerial, these are very underdeveloped for the area. The surrounding properties are all much smaller lots with bigger homes on them, more recently developed. So this slide gives an idea of the surrounding area. I'm sure that people here are familiar with this area. Probably most of you live within this aerial view. Familiar with the fact that it is, mixed use area. There's a lot of amenities in the area, including parks, schools, places of worship, commercial spaces, etc. I do want to highlight the green and yellow dots that are shown on this slide. These are properties where there's either an existing, an approved, or a pending development for some higher density than a single family lot. So you can see that there's quite a few of them shown on the map. And so this is an area there. Uh, also, there's plumbing developments that have been approved by the city, and also more applications for that type of development. The official plan land use designation right now is the neighborhood area on an arterial road such as Ardagh. This does permit up to 6 stories in development. But the zoning is R2 right now, which permits just single family detached dwellings. So here's the updated development concept for you. I have a nice rendering so you can visualize. So the new proposed development is for a 6-story purpose-built rental apartment building. It would have 153 units, should range in size from 1 to 3 bedrooms. Proposing 3 levels of underground parking, which would have about 1.5 parking spaces per unit. So, what's required by the zoning. And there'd also be bicycle parking provided as well. This is the site plan for you, just to get an idea of the site layout. And one of the features I really want to highlight is that this site plan provides very wide landscape buffers on all the property lines to ensure privacy and setbacks from abutting neighbors. The setbacks exceed what's required for the most part. And in the rear, you can see in particular, there's this large outdoor amenity area that's proposed for the residents to provide a nice amenity there, and also, again, that buffering. And it is a lot of green space that's proposed, not just hardscape. So as Riley had mentioned, we're here because we will need a zoning bylaw amendment request from the existing R2 zone to the RA2-1 with special provisions. Oops. So I mentioned the proposed development does meet or exceed most of the requirements for the RA2-1 zone. There's just 2 site-specific provisions that we've identified that we'd be requesting based on the current design. The first one is for the maximum lot coverage. RA2-1 requires 35%, and we're proposing 40%. So although we're asking for additional coverage, as I mentioned, it's a lot of landscaping that will be in that non-building area of the site. Whereas usually you'd see in a project like this, the building might only take 35%, but there'd be a lot of hardscaping on the site. So we feel that there's sort of a balance between, okay, there's a bit more building than might otherwise be permitted, but we're offsetting that by providing landscaping instead of hardscaping on the remainder of the site that's not occupied by the building. And so we feel that it's justified request. It's also a fairly minor increase, just 5%. And then the second request is for the drive aisle width. This would be for the internal driveways in the parking garage. 6 meters is becoming the standard in a lot of municipalities, and in fact, Barrie has a draft zoning bylaw to update the current zoning bylaw that is proposing 6 meters. But right now, we're still under the provisions of the existing zoning bylaw, which requires 6.4 meters. So we're requesting for 6 meters instead of 6.4 meters, just for some site efficiencies. So this slide shows the required studies that will need to be completed as part of this proposed development. These studies are still in progress, not completed yet, but would be submitted along with the formal applications and as we progress through the development process. So as was mentioned, these sites are in the built-up area. They are generally underdeveloped compared to abutting properties in the surrounding area. 6-story buildings are permitted along Ardagh per the official plan. And this area is mixed use with many amenities within walking distance, which would be supported by the proposed development. So we feel, it is our professional opinion, that the proposed project that today would meet the growth and intensification targets for the city of Barrie, and especially for rental housing units, which is what is proposed for this project and is a really, much needed amenity in the city of Barrie and something that hasn't typically been built. And in conclusion, as mentioned, we are proposing zoning bylaw amendment in order to facilitate the development of 153 new apartment units in a six-story building. We believe the proposal is consistent with planning policy, and we are here tonight to get community feedback in order to refine our project and prepare for submission. So thank you so much for your time this evening. We are here for questions and comments. I'll be taking notes of all the questions and comments that come up. Anything that I can't answer right now, as I mentioned, we're still working through getting all the technical studies done. We're still refining the plan. So anything that can't be responded to today, we will provide a response in our formal application submission. And we do have notes as well from the previous community meeting. Although the design has changed pretty substantially, we'll also do our best to address any questions and comments that are still relevant that came up at that meeting. So thank you so much.